Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
West Covina police chasing a child endangerment suspect on the westbound 105.
Desmond Shaw live overhead in Sky 9 to tell us more now. Desmond?
Yeah, Jeff and Susie, here we go again. Westbound on the 105 as we make our way towards Hawthorne. We not only have to deal with LAX airspace, but Hawthorne Airport's airspace as well. So just bear with us here. We'll try to get a closer shot for you, but we've already come quite a distance as came out of West Covina. This is West Covina PD. Now, there was some chatter with CHP as to if they were going to take this over, and West Covina said, nope, we want this one. So they tend to be one of the more aggressive agencies, I have to say, just from experience. Again, child endangerment, not clear exactly on the specific details of what that means when they say child endangerment, but you can see just how many units are in pursuit here, and you see the spotlight there. That's LA County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter overhead right now. Westbound on the 105, you see we're coming up on Prairie Avenue, so kind of parallel to SoFi Stadium, and let's see, it looks like they might be getting off the freeway here, Jeff and Susie.
So Desmond, do you know, we know that this is a child endangerment situation. Do we know if there's a child in the vehicle with the suspect?
We haven't heard any details on that. I mean, we just had that pursuit last night, of course, where we saw that exact thing. Ended up being a very stressful situation. Fortunately, that child ended up being okay, but no word if this is a similar situation, if it's just one person in the car, or if anyone else is in that vehicle. But they are getting off the freeway. They looked like they were going to go north on Prairie towards SoFi Stadium there, but now you see they cut over to the exit. And let's see where this is going to lead the vehicle here. We're still dealing with Hawthorne Airport's airspace right now. So this is actually going to go over towards Hawthorne Boulevard. If they go north, that turns into La Brea. South, that'll be Hawthorne Boulevard and towards Lawndale.
Yeah, as Desmond was just talking about, we're talking about someone who is a suspect wanted for child endangerment. The situation is unclear exactly what we're talking about. We do know by law, though, that child endangerment is a wobbler, which means that it can be charged as a felony or a misdemeanor. And what actually is considered child endangerment? Well, it's when someone permits or causes a child to be placed in a dangerous situation. So, Desmond, looks like we're going through some really narrow residential streets now.
Did they attempt a pit maneuver there, Des?
Yeah, it looked like the officer wanted to, and we'll see if we can gain any altitude, but here we go once again with LAX's airspace. Just like last night, this might be even more difficult for us to keep a good visual on this one. They're on a small street, looks like Larch Avenue, but this is the airspace that is very, very close to LAX, so we will not be able to proceed any farther. Again, already come a really long ways here out of West Covina. We went westbound on the 10, south 710, west 105, and now into this neighborhood. Makes you wonder if the suspect is getting ready to give the vehicle up here. Looks like they made a eastbound turn just going by the flashing lights here onto Lenox Boulevard and picking up some speeds. Let's keep, wow. Okay.
Well, that's, you can see the lights really, here for sure. You know, really stepped on the gas pedal there. You know, Des, you're doing such a good job. We do see the location there at the top part of your screen, South Prairie Avenue. Suspect wanted for child endangerment. This is West Covina Police. As now they're coming back your direction, Des. This is live look here from LA's latest pursuit of a child endangerment suspect in a Scion. We understand that's a smaller vehicle. We do not know if there's any child in the car or not. We know that the suspect drivers wanted for child endangerment. West Covina police are in pursuit, and Susie, looks like a number of units there are behind that suspect vehicle.
That's right. Again, just to let you know, child endangerment and the law, what is considered to be child endangerment? It's when someone willfully permits or causes a child under their care to be injured. So we don't know if that's, you know, whether it's through yelling, through mental, you know, injury or through physical injury. We have no idea at this point. But we don't know if there's a child actually inside this car. But certainly the clues that are giving us by the West Covina Police Department tonight tells us that they certainly want this person, and they want him or her for themselves, because this is a pursuit that, mind you, that started in West Covina, which is a world away from South LA in terms of commute terms here in Southern California. And it looks like we're getting back onto the freeway
highway
now.
Yeah, so this is going to be Imperial Highway here. This is going to be in South LA. It's occurring, and of course, Des is having some trouble because at one point in time it was going near SoFi Stadium. You know, if you've been there, that is really close to the approach at LAX. So we're having to deal with some air issues there and some airspace issues. Susie, that West Covina cruiser is right on the tail of that suspect. We've seen possibly an attempted pit. We're getting on the highway now. They usually don't do that on highway speeds, but I would say West Covina pretty aggressive with this suspect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen the CHP obviously get pretty close to cars on the freeway, but it's pretty rare that we see local jurisdictions chasing on the freeway for this long, but certainly something is happening. Something happened in their jurisdiction in West Covina that's definitely making them, you know, want this guy. And you're talking about eastbound now, Desmond?
Yes, yes, that's correct. So we're back on the eastbound 105 now at this point. I'm just noticing some damage to that rear bumper, and it's making me wonder if there was an attempted pit maneuver earlier. And you saw it earlier when we barely had eyes on as they were making turns onto that residential street. It sure looked like this lead unit was kind of come in for a pit maneuver. And if they're doing that, I'm thinking that there is not a child in the vehicle. If they had, you know, strong reason to suspect, they would not be, you know, even thinking about a pit maneuver, just like we saw last night. LAPD immediately said we will not be pitting this vehicle because they thought there was a strong chance that there was a child in the car, and that did end up being the case. So that just kind of putting two and two together, thinking that the child is somewhere else, not inside of this vehicle. But we've seen some pretty high speeds there. We saw really quickly how it started to get away from us there. It slammed on the gas pedal, must have been going 60 miles an hour on that surface street, and now we're showing between the speed limit and 80 as we are eastbound on the 105 headed back towards South LA. Yeah,
eastbound 105, suspect wanted for child endangerment. West Covina police on this pursuit here, lighting up that vehicle on the highway. This is going to be eastbound 105, up to speeds of about 65, 70 miles per hour. But at one point in time, Susie, just getting up briefly over 100 miles per hour in that brown Scion. Kind of a little crossover vehicle we see there. Obviously, that would be light enough for police officers in those SUVs to do a pit maneuver, but obviously we don't really see that happen at highway speeds.
Yeah, they were going through some narrow streets earlier when they got off the freeway, got off the 105, and were on surface streets there, but on some very narrow residential streets. Of course, they're, you know, considering all these different variables when they're considering any kind of motion like that, like a pit maneuver or putting out spike strips. But this is certainly a situation where this person is going so fast right now at this point, but they're really keeping up with him, Jeff.
They certainly are. And, you know, it's one of those things where you see CHP, you see LAPD, and their different approaches when it comes to pursuits. West Covina, as Des said, appeared to be a little more aggressive on this. We saw a number of cruisers behind this vehicle. Des, if you can hear me, if you wouldn't mind panning out just to show us. I'm not sure how many cruisers were in tow, but it looked like at least 4. There's 1, 2 that we can see. This is a pretty wide shot here. Well, it just looks like 2. Well, looks like 3 or 4. So at this point in time, obviously, there's 4 taking this very seriously, and not even allowing CHP to get involved on the highway was showing you just how dedicated they were, Susie, to take down this suspect and to stop this pursuit. Because usually when they get onto a California highway, CHP then is called in. Those municipalities usually ask for their help, and then they take over.
And they'll relinquish the pursuit.
For some reason, West Covina, they have a lot of information possibly on this suspect, but they want to continue with this pursuit on their own.
Yeah, again, we're talking about child endangerment. That's the want. We have no idea what the situation was or is at this point. We don't know how badly that child was hurt, if they were, if it was in West Covina. We're assuming it was happening in that city because West Covina Police Department has not relinquished this pursuit to the CHP just yet. But just to bring our viewers up to speed here, when we give you a wide shot and looks like we're not too close to the pursuit, I just want to remind our viewers that it is because we are contending with airspace with both LAX and at one point Hawthorne airspace as well.
All right, well, let's go back up to Desmond Shaw live in Sky 9 at this very moment to get the latest from him. Des?
Yeah, well, kind of doubling back now to, well, we'll see where it goes as we approach the 710. We just passed the 105, and so now we are getting away from LAX, now cutting over into the carpool lane. And I can just tell you, you know, when you have an agency that says, no, we don't want CHP involved, we want this, and you see the level of dedication to a pursuit, that tells you that the charge is quite serious. It tends to be the most serious charges when they continue to pursue a suspect like this and they don't want anyone else to be involved. There can be issues with a chain of custody, and they just want everything to be on their books. And so that is what this pursuit is telling me right now, as we are eastbound on the 105 now in the carpool lane. Now, speeds were not too high at the beginning of the pursuit as this was coming out of West Covina and came down the 710. It really wasn't until we got off the freeway there near SoFi Stadium that we saw kind of some high speeds there, maybe up to 60 miles an hour on surface streets, briefly at 80, but now we're trending back down towards the speed limit, maybe a little bit faster here. And we will see what the suspect does. If they're going to continue in the carpool lane, then they're going to pass up the 710 and head for the 605.
Yeah, and speaking of speeds, I mean, we haven't seen this person slow down since they jumped onto the 105 freeway once again. You can see them really going fast on the carpool lane there, as West Covina Police Department is right on their tail. But really keeping up with them. You know, we often watch these pursuits, and oftentimes when they go too fast, they'll actually pull back because the high rate of speed, like this one, we're getting into the 90s now. But, you know, oftentimes, again, as Desmond was talking about, when an agency really wants this person for something they did, and it was probably something heinous, you know, we're talking about they're going to, you know, stay on this person and try not to lose them. Again, the LA County Sheriff's Department with their chopper overhead, West Covina Police Department on the ground pursuing this person tonight, and the want is child endangerment.
Yeah, take a live pictures here on KCAL 9. This is breaking news. Suspect wanted for child endangerment inside this crossover Scion, if you will. It's being followed now by several West Covina police cruisers, and they are actively pursuing this vehicle. Went just from the left-hand HOV lanes now all the way to the middle lanes there. This is going to still be the eastbound of 105, the exit of Norwalk, happening right now in Compton. We did have some information earlier that showed that possibly that might be connected, the vehicle might be connected to an address in Compton. So we'll continue to follow that information as well. That would make some sense as to why we're driving around in this area. But, you know, this is one of those things where we're on a highway speeds, everybody's going in the same direction. It appears that this driver is not being especially reckless at this point in time. You know, we have seen those really desperate moments, Susie, in chases where these drivers will hop onto the sidewalk or go through the stop signs and stop lights. Not so much of that tonight. This driver is, of course, leading police on a police pursuit, but these speeds are somewhat manageable. We've just seen that one occasion where it got over 100 miles per hour, but so far, so good. Nothing too dangerous, which is nice to see. It's a calm pursuit at this point in time. We certainly hope it ends that way.
Absolutely. And we were talking about how, you know, the cruisers on the ground were getting really close to this person, and oftentimes when a person, you know, we're talking about a person with a child inside the car, or perhaps they're armed, which could, you know, have been the case in this situation. We don't know how this child was harmed. That's what we're assuming, and that's why this person is being chased right now. But, you know, we don't know exactly what's happening inside that car, but we do know just from the clues that the West Covina Police Department is giving us in terms of how they're chasing this person. I think it's safe to assume, first of all, the child's not inside this car. If they're armed, still unclear.
95 miles an hour, 98 miles an hour, almost up to about 100 miles an hour. And you can also think that, Susie, those police officers, if they know that it's child endangerment, they've probably been in contact with the child, maybe the mother of the child, a guardian of the child, and maybe they do know a lot of information about this suspect. That has, of course, occurred time to time. We don't have any indication that this vehicle is stolen, so they've obviously run the plate and they have a lot of information on this suspect. That would maybe be one of the reasons why they decided to stay with this pursuit and not hand it over to the CHP, even though it is on a highway. Let's go up to Desmond Shaw with the very latest from Sky 9. Des, we're kind of just moving along here at maybe just a little under 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, going between 80 and 100 eastbound here as we make our way towards the 710 freeway. And you know, you were talking about running the plates there, and it came back registered in Compton. And so when we were westbound on the 105 or southbound on the 710 on either of those freeways, we're thinking that perhaps that's where the suspect was headed. Sometimes they want to head back to where they live and then you know, surrender there. But that was not the case. Now we're actually kind of, you know, flying back towards, roughly towards the West Covina area. We'll see where they go here as actually the 605 will be the next freeway, and that will be the end of the 105, and then we'll see if they're going to go north or south 605. There's also a special carpool exit lane that goes into the Norwalk area to Studebaker. That will be another option. We've seen them on the in the carpool lane previously, but now all the way towards the right. So at least at this moment, making it look like they're going to head for the, okay, now for sure getting on the 605, unless he's going to cross over, and there he goes into the carpool lane there. So once again, trying to kind of pull a fast one. Did not work with Covina PD. They were right behind him, and they're always going to be privy to that. They've seen everything. They know when a suspect is most likely to try to make a move there at the last second. And so actually going, from the south 605 to the north 605, I thought it looked like they were taking that carpool exit, but this is going to go northbound 605, which again, kind of trending back to where this pursuit first began.
Yeah, you know, actually police departments, they'll actually, during training, that's what they'll do. They'll make sure that they don't follow too closely behind, just in case this person makes some sort of sudden move like you just saw right now, a sudden maneuver like that, you know, swing way over from a turn that you thought that they were going to, the interchange that you thought that they were going to take. But that happens often, and that's why they're ready for this, as Desmond was just talking about. You know, they're fully prepared for anything. They've seen it all, and you know, when they are following too closely behind, they know that they could possibly lose the person. So they're going to do everything they can, as they have been, the West Covina Police Department, not relinquishing this pursuit to the CHP tonight. They've been doing everything they can to get this person. This
started on the westbound 105 in the Hawthorne area, South LA. West Covina police are responding to this. It went then on the eastbound 105 after going onto some surface streets. We do understand now it's on the northbound 605. LA County Sheriff's Department has their chopper overhead. And of course, we have our chopper overhead as well as we continue to follow this live police pursuit of a driver wanted for child endangerment. We do not know the extent of the injuries to that child. We do not know what the circumstances are and what led to that. We do understand that this is possibly the driver of the vehicle that owns the vehicle, and we do understand that the license plate goes back to a Compton address.
Yeah, let's go back up to Desmond Shaw live in Sky 9. And Desmond, now on the 605, correct?
That's right, northbound on the 605, crossing over the 5 freeway right here. So committed to the 605 as we head towards Santa Fe Springs and Whittier, up towards the City of Industry. Once we get to the 60, you see the 2 units here that are immediately behind the vehicle, and then several others that are behind, and those vehicles may be trailing back there to provide a little bit of traffic control. If anyone else, you know, tries to go up ahead of them, then they can potentially do, you know, round robins on the freeway so that they do not potentially get involved in this pursuit. But now we're exiting the freeway at Telegraph. First exit north of the 5, so this will take us into Santa Fe Springs or Pico Rivera, depending on which side of Telegraph they decide to go here. Looks like this is going to go to eastbound on Telegraph. And now we're back onto some surface streets, and we'll see how dangerous this suspect wants to get, and we'll see how aggressive West Covina wants to get. Let's see if they have any other pit maneuvers in mind. It kind of looks like it, like this officer just waiting for the opportunity, and there it is, right there. He tried again, kind of smashed the rear bumper, though. That's, I think that may have happened earlier. We noted that damage on the bumper previously, so I'm thinking this may have been the second pit maneuver attempt, and let's see how the suspect responds. Sometimes they get really panicked once they do a pit maneuver like that, and tend to speed up and try to get away from the police. And now
back on the highway,
getting back on the freeway. Yep. So this will be going reverse now, southbound 605. Might have spooked the suspect into getting back on the roadway so that they don't get pitted again.
That's just too bad that that did not work out, because that was a pretty good attempt at that pit. And you know, just one of those things where as much as they can train, they've done such a good job in training, and he was in a perfect situation to do that pit maneuver. You just never really know the circumstances, the environment, and just what the driver will do. And for some reason, he evaded that pit maneuver. Susan.
Yeah, and as Desmond was just talking about, you know, perhaps he did get back on the freeway because The 2 times that he was on surface streets, we believe 2 pit maneuvers at different times were attempted, shown from the damage on his bumper, and also that second pit maneuver attempt that you just saw here on KCAL 9. And it looks like back on the freeway, going at a high rate of speed, Desmond.
Yeah, that's really kind of the policy, isn't it, Susie? Once they're on the highway, they don't. I'm just going to interrupt you real quick, Des, because we're going to bring up that inset box, and we're going to show you that attempted pit maneuver that happened just moments ago live here on KCAL 9. This is of a suspect wanted for child endangerment. The lead cruiser for West Covina Police tried a pit maneuver, but it doesn't quite work. So we are continuing on your left-hand screen there. That's going to be the live picture. Let's go up to Desmond Shaw on Sky 9 with the latest, Des.
Yeah, so we're almost certainly not going to see a pit maneuver right here. We've only seen it happen twice in the past, and once was in some fairly heavy traffic where they were only going maybe 10 or 20 miles an hour on the 101, and that's why they did a pit maneuver in that pursuit. And then another time it was a similar situation, but you can see wide open traffic going between 60 and 80 miles an hour. That's not going to happen on the freeway. It's a very precise maneuver as well. It would be extremely difficult to attempt even if they had the authorization to do it at 60 miles an hour, which obviously they do not. And you can see right there just how everything has to go perfectly, and it looked like the officers set that up so well on telegraph as the suspect was coming into that turn, and it just didn't quite work out. So here we are back on the roadway, and it looks like we're going to be headed back for the westbound 105, kind of deja vu here. But let me give it back to you, Jeff and Susie. We might be getting some new information from the assignment desk.
Okay.
Well, as Desmond gets that new information, you know, we've covered a lot of ground here. We're talking about this started in West Covina and ended up in the South LA area, and it looks like we're doubling back towards that area. The person exited on telegraph for just a moment where there was a second pit maneuver attempt. So good by the West Covina Police Department, but not successful, unfortunately. And then they got back on the freeway, as you can see here. I want to show you that pit maneuver one more time. On the right side of your screen, you're going to watch the pit maneuver attempt right there when that person is, I'm sorry, this is when they were on residential streets, and these are highlights from earlier in the pursuit when they were going pretty fast on residential streets there in South LA. And then they got back on the freeway. But as we've been talking about, they have covered a lot of ground, Jeff, from West Covina to South LA and now back in the Santa Fe Springs area. And you got to wonder, when are they going to run out of gas?
Yeah, there's that pit maneuver right there, that latest attempt as we continue to take a look on the right-hand part of your screen. Now full screen of the live shot, and I just got to say that lead driver there for West Covina, he is really tracked and right on top of that suspect vehicle. I would assume he's the one that at least had that last pit maneuver, possibly that first pit maneuver. We think there might have been 2, just taking a look at the damage of the vehicle, but we know of at least 1 pit maneuver. Of course, that was unsuccessful, but as you mentioned, Susie, this has been a pursuit that has hit a number of roadways throughout South LA. Westbound the 105, when we first engaged with this here on KCAL 9, eastbound 105, the northbound 605 to the southbound 605. In between there was when that attempted pit maneuver occurred, and then now westbound 105 as we take a look at this suspect who is driving wanted for child endangerment. And we understand the tag comes out of Compton as we continue to follow this live here on KCAL 9. LA's latest police pursuit. And Susie, we're not really hitting any highway speeds here. We don't have the speedometer, but at one point in time they were up over 100 miles an hour, and now seemingly looks to be just about highway speeds.
And this information just into our newsroom. This is breaking news with the West Covina Police Department telling us that the want is actually domestic violence and not child endangerment. So we don't know, again, the situation, what had transpired in West Covina to kick this pursuit off, but we do know that it was something offensive. It was something that this person obviously is going to be wanted for, and this is what's happening right now on the freeway.
Yeah, and you know, police officers will tell you some of the most dangerous calls they go on are domestic violence. There's obviously a lot of emotion there, and that leads to something like this. They got to take a lot of precaution. As we take a look at this police pursuit live, as that vehicle now is taking a pretty aggressive move onto another This may be an exit now. This is going to be the 105 westbound. Are they exiting here, possibly at the Pasadena exit, back onto surface streets? We'll watch as we take a look live here. That's West Covina Police in pursuit of this suspect. We've just upgraded, if you will, or updated rather, that charge and that want for the driver of domestic violence. We've been mentioning child endangerment. That was the first information that we got, was that the driver was wanted for child endangerment. But now we understand West Covina Police has told us now that it's for domestic violence.
And we watched 2 pit maneuver attempts by the West Covina Police Department that were unfortunately unsuccessful. But when we talk about pit maneuvers, first of all, they have to be approved by a supervisor. So that lead agency, or the lead officer in this pursuit right behind this person right now, is not the one making the decisions. They are listening to a supervisor tell them on the radio, hey, go ahead and go for that pit, or don't do the pit because it's too dangerous. And of course, like you were talking about, Jeff, there are so many different factors that go into a pit maneuver. You can't just do it, as we were talking about. Not only do you have to have a supervisor's approval, but you also have to make sure that the conditions are just right. Make sure no one's around, make sure no other cars are around, no pedestrians, obviously. You're not putting other people's lives in danger. The weather conditions have to be right, and you have to do it in such a way that they can actually, the person who's pitting can get away and another officer can come through and make those arrests. So lots happening, and unfortunately it didn't happen on that second attempt.
So many moving parts, if you will, when it comes to something like this, and all the training that goes into those great officers, the men and women on the ground that are doing this right at this point in time, this police pursuit of this driver wanted for domestic violence. Let's go back upstairs to Sky 9 and Desmond Shaw. Now, Des, you took a little break to get some more information, so go ahead and give us the latest.
Yeah, so we did clarify that it has now been clarified to domestic violence and not child endangerment. We understand that whatever happened today. The extent of the injuries to the victim is unknown, but you see the aggression from West Covina, which tells me that it must be awfully serious. They believe they're confident that there's only one person in the car. There are no children in this vehicle. And another interesting thing here is that so West Covina says we're not going to relinquish this to anyone else, but they were asking CHP to help them with spike strips, but CHP's policy is we're either all in or we're not in at all. So they're not going to do something where West Covina will be the lead agency, but they're going to sit on the highway and attempt spike strips. So we're not going to see anyone else involved in this, which makes me think that spike strips will not be involved either, because you just have these units from West Covina. It's unclear if they even have any of those in their vehicle, and then they would have to set up somewhere. And I think there's only 4 to 6 vehicles in pursuit right now. We've seen that, the pit maneuver is what they're thinking they want to use if they get the opportunity. They've already tried. It didn't work. Otherwise, they're going to take this as long as it goes. If that involves the vehicle running out of gas and the suspect surrendering or getting out of the vehicle and running, however it is, they're going to be the ones that will be in charge of this pursuit. Northbound on the 710. We had been on the southbound 710 earlier in the pursuit just before we picked this up. So now northbound, headed back as we head through Southgate, headed towards the 5 freeway.
And just to speak to what you were talking about, Desmond, about the West Covina Police Department not relinquishing the pursuit because the CHP is all or nothing with these pursuits. Oftentimes they don't have the same communication channels on their radios, and that's a big hindrance when they're obviously working an operation like this, which is so fast and so fluid. They definitely have to be on the same communication, on the same page, if you will. And oftentimes they can't do that with a different radio station in a different jurisdiction. So it's hard to do that, first of all. But also, they have their own equipment, they have their own protocols, and of course, they don't want to mix those.
It's kind of the prerogative of the agency where this involved first, where the call came through, which was West Covina, and they are obviously going to take that prerogative and stay with this police pursuit, and that is something that tells you a little bit about this case. You certainly understand that when it gets out of their jurisdiction, there are some things that they have to consider, and especially when they get onto the highway, you know that there are policies that they follow, Susie. Obviously, this policy they've decided to follow is because of the grave nature of this criminal act by this suspect in domestic violence, as I'm getting some more information here. Once again, this all started in South LA out of the West Covina PD. And the want was for domestic violence, very high and emotional aspects to domestic violence. If you talk to police officers, they say those are some of the cases and the calls that they get that they are real in tune with and could be the most dangerous. So it started on the westbound 105, eastbound 105, then it got northbound 605. Then there was a pit maneuver that failed at the exit with Telegraph there off the 605, back on the southbound 605, westbound 105, now the northbound 710. And you see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cruisers in pursuit of this driver.
That's right. And as Desmond was talking about, just to clarify once again, this happened in West Covina, and it was a situation of domestic violence, and that is the want right now. We thought it was child endangerment earlier, but we have corrected that since. This happened today. Whatever the crime was, whatever this person is wanted for, the act actually happened today. We believe that one person is inside this car, no child inside this car as far as we know. And the CHP at one point was asked by the West Covina Police Department to possibly help with spike strips, but the CHP refused because they often times when they're doing their pursuits, or I should say all the time, they want their own vehicles, their own protocols, and they have their own radio communication lines, and so they refused.
Yeah, Desmond Shaw's been, of course, following this here on KCAL 9 from the very beginning. He joins us from Sky 9 with the latest, up to about 65, 70 miles per hour, Des, just continuing northbound on the 710.
That's right. There may be some traffic that goes to the northbound 5. If you know the northbound 710, you know the ramp to the north 5 is kind of a weird one because it's on the left there. You see that stop traffic. There might be some there either a crash or some construction on the northbound side of the 5. So the suspect does not want to get involved in that. So here they're continuing northbound 710. And next we'll have an option for the 60 and then the 10 freeway before the 710 ends at Valley Boulevard in Alhambra. Now, West Covina, as we've been saying, they're going to be with this from beginning to end, but they are getting some help from another agency. That's LA County Sheriff's deputies, some very important support from above. It's their helicopter right now that is lending that spotlight, and they're actually on their second helicopter right now. They switched out, got a fresh tank of gas back at the 105-605. I believe their helicopter came in from Pomona, so that just tells you, you know, the dedication that they will help other agencies when it comes to air support, because, you know, a lot of these smaller cities don't have their own Air Force the way that LAPD does or the way that CHP does. So that's why, you know, a lot of times when you're dealing with one of these smaller jurisdictions and you have air support, it's going to be LA County Sheriff's deputies. So on the 710, but it looks like we may be getting off of the freeway here, and let's see what happens again as we get off on some surface streets. This is going to take us to 3rd Street as we peer behind this sound wall right here. And, or is this going to be going to the 60 freeway? Let's see, this is a long ramp here. Nope, this is going to go actually to the 60. Are they going to go east or west? Looks like they're going to head east. So back into the San Gabriel Valley, back where this pursuit all began. Not back in West Covina yet, but we're in East LA. And we'll see if they're just going to loop around. We've been seeing the suspect kind of loop around, double back on different freeways. You saw them make a loop there in South LA before they decided. So might be headed back to West Covina, might just be kind of aimless, trying to buy some time. Have to wonder if this person is on the phone with authorities. Sometimes when you're dealing with domestic violence situations, someone's trying to make contact with that suspect. Maybe the victim gave a phone number to the police to try to negotiate with this person. That could be happening right now as well.
Yeah, that could certainly be happening. We know that the police officers know that this all started in West Covina. They probably have been in contact with the victim in this domestic violence situation. They know that this originated as far as the vehicle with a tag with an address in Compton. They have a lot of information. They probably have a lot more information, Susie, as they try to round up this latest pursuit to suspect here live on KCAL 9. This is a police pursuit of a domestic violence suspect behind the wheel of this Scion. There's been at least 2 pit maneuvers, both unsuccessful. You see the damage on the the rear part of that vehicle to the bumper there. There should be some more damage on the other side as well, as they had those two pit maneuvers just moments ago. We might have a chance to bring that up in an inset box and show you some of the highlights, if you will, of this pursuit, which include those pit maneuvers and some reckless driving by the driver in some of the residential areas going at a pretty high rate of speed. Also on the highway, getting up to over 100 miles per hour at one point in time, but Susie, getting back down to highway speeds.
That's right. And unclear right now if this person is armed. I mean, by the motions and the actions of the West Covina Police Department and how close they're getting to that vehicle, as you saw an attempted pit maneuver right there on the right side of your screen. This is actually the second attempted pit maneuver of the evening, and we're talking about someone who's wanted for domestic violence. So, you know, oftentimes, like you said, Jeff, you know, they will actually just say, you know what, let's let the chopper take over and let's let them track this suspect. You know, we have the address, we have the plates, you know, we know where they are, we know where they're from, we know where they're possibly going, so they will do that. But in this case, they haven't done that. The West Covina Police Department has not relinquished the pursuit to the CHP tonight. They want this person in their jurisdiction, in their custody.
And we do not know the extent of the injuries to that domestic partner and the domestic violence situation. We have no idea at this point in time the extent of those injuries, how serious they may be. But the fact that they are wanting to pursue this without the help from CHP, want to start and end this pursuit, tells you that it might have been a very bad situation. Let's go back up to Desmond Shaw on Sky 9 with a look at the very latest. We saw those 5 cruisers behind. They remain there, Des, as you take a look here, and we continue just to kind of cruise on at those highway speeds.
Yep, that's right. Eastbound here on the 60, you see the lead unit has actually even dropped back a little bit, but the spotlight is still right on the vehicle. There you see it getting really bright there by the tactical flight officer. There's 2 people inside the LA County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter, obviously the pilot, and then the tactical flight officer who controls the spotlight and is also calling out streets if they're talking on a frequency. They're the ones that can relay communications between different agencies as well, if need be. And we were talking, or Susie was mentioning the potential for weapons. I have to imagine that they hopefully got a lot of information on this suspect from the victim of the domestic violence, and I'm sure one of the things they asked is, do you think this person has a gun? Do you think this person has a knife? Do they keep weapons in the vehicle? Something like that. So perhaps with the fact that we've already seen some attempted pit maneuvers, they must have come to the conclusion that this person is not armed with a gun or a knife. Obviously, they don't know for sure, but they may just be playing the odds on this one. Eastbound about 75 miles an hour coming up to Rosemead, so right near the Whittier Narrows recreation area. Pretty light traffic, no Caltrans work on this section of the 60 tonight. I know there have been a lot of work adding a carpool lane project, but it doesn't look like that is taking place here. We'll see if they get back on the 605. We've already been there once. Trending back, though, towards West Covina.
Well, those are wide, clear roads, and that is one of those situations that we always see. And I don't know, maybe he is, well, he's off to the right-hand part of the highway there. I thought maybe he might take an exit, Susie, but at this point in time, it's a clear, wide open freeway. Yeah,
it is. And you just wonder how much longer this person can actually go for, because as we told you, this all started in the city of West Covina. As they went from West Covina to South LA, to Santa Fe Springs, and back up to the San Gabriel Valley. So we're talking at least 100 miles, at least so far. So, you know, depending on how much gas they started with in the tank, obviously, but at some point, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and this is one of those vehicles that sips gas. I mean, it's a smaller vehicle, probably a 4-cylinder. As you're getting a better look here from the middle part of your screen, just above our banner down below, you'll see the damage to the bumper in the right-hand part of the vehicle there. You also, that's probably from the pit maneuver that occurred earlier. At least we think there was, we know of one, we think there might have been 2, as this driver is going along at 74 miles per hour. And you know, it's interesting, Susie, we see a lot of times in these situations the glow of a cell phone, or we see something like that. I don't know if these are darkened windows or not, but we don't see any sort of activity from inside, no hand waving, nobody putting their arm out the window, no glow of a cell phone, really no reckless driving whatsoever. I mean, obviously there were a couple of places where they're going fast in those residential areas, 100 miles per hour on the highway, but for the most part, not a whole lot of real evasive, aggressive maneuvers by this driver. Relatively calm pursuit which is kind of what you want. Going all in the same direction on a highway is much better than going at a rapid pace of speed through a residential area where people are walking and cyclists and children and whatnot. It is a summer night as they go to the right of a big rig there on the, this is going to be the eastbound 60.
Yeah, we always think he's going to exit, and he does not. And as you were talking about, Jeff, no movement inside the car as far as we know. I mean, obviously we have a really high shot from here, but you know, inside the car we usually see some sort of glowing, maybe, you know, talking on a cell phone, texting or something like that. But you know, it really makes you wonder what's happening with this person right now. Are they being contacted and, you know, negotiated with, so to speak? You know, you never know what's happening inside that car and what they're thinking, what their mentality is, what state of mind they're in. You know, it was interesting because, you know, we were talking about the pit maneuver attempts earlier. As you were saying, Jeff, we know of one, but possibly two. But, you know, we believe that possibly because they were on the residential streets and that's when those pit maneuver attempts happened, that they just got right back on the freeway, so they can't have that happen anymore.
Yeah, and they kind of know that, don't they? That the policy is that they don't really do a pit maneuver at highway speeds. They always do that in residential areas, easier to control. The reason why police do not perform any pit maneuvers on the highway is at highway speeds. A pit maneuver is very aggressive. You can send that car. It could be fatal. You could roll that car over. It could roll into other vehicles. I mean, we're talking highway speeds. Oh, absolutely. And highway speeds is a big difference maker when it comes to doing a pit maneuver. You just really can't do that at highway speeds. It's just too dangerous. So, Des, I saw a little bit of a deviation here. We went from the eastbound 60 now. We're on the 605.
That's right, northbound 605 as we come through South El Monte, and the 10 freeway will be next. So, I mean, we're going right back towards West Covina. Let's see if they're going to be making a turn on the eastbound 10, and then we'll be right on a trajectory from where this all began. We first heard about it on the westbound side of the 10, just west of the 605. So coming very, very close back to where this was, where this began. And again, it is West Covina PD, so that, you know, tells us that this happened inside their jurisdiction, and just wondering if they're headed back to the scene here, if there's been any kind of negotiation with the suspect, between law enforcement and the suspect and the victim, something. Just, you have to wonder if that's what's going on behind the scenes. And yeah, really low speeds on this one. It's you just never know how these pursuits are going to go. Sometimes they're just outrageously dangerous, and other times you have a pursuit like this where if you're that motorist that's right there on the right, you might not even have any idea that a pursuit's going on. You might just think that this officer is trying to light them up because of a traffic violation and, you know, pull them over and give them a ticket, until you see that there is a spotlight overhead and then 5 or 6 other units behind them, and then that's probably going to clue you in that something much more serious is afoot here. Northbound on the 605, the distance between the 60 and the 10 is only a couple of miles, so we will be crossing that shortly. There was Valley Boulevard right there, which would have gone towards the City of Industry or the greater El Monte area. And if they pass up the 10, they'll be headed towards the 605 in those right lanes. Eastbound 10 would take them right back to West Covina.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. A lot of times, Susie, we see these suspects go right back to familiar territory. A lot of times, sometimes they just go back home, and we've seen that before. So maybe that's what this driver is doing. It's a rather calm pursuit. Maybe that driver is communicating with somebody inside the vehicle. As this is going to be an exit here for sure. What's this exit, Des?
This is going to take us, it looks like, to the eastbound 10. Taking it to the, here we go, eastbound 10. So headed towards West Covina. My assignment desk telling me that if they were going to go westbound on the 10, the suspect may have run into some serious traffic because there was a bad crash over that way. So instead, eastbound on the 10. And now we're really, really wondering if this is hopefully going to come to an end soon, if the suspect is just going back towards West Covina to surrender. Certainly our hope. We'll see how it plays out, but we're coming into Baldwin Park, and then we'll be in West Covina next.
Yeah, and as we know on the freeway, you know, police officers, they're very limited with the stopping mechanisms compared to residential streets or surface streets, certainly because of the highway speeds. But so far, all we've seen is are 2 pit maneuvers, attempted pit maneuvers. We saw one. We believe there was another one at some point earlier on in the pursuit before we got over it. We got over it in South LA. This started in West Covina, and it was just off the westbound 10 freeway. And it looks like that's where we are once again, where we started. This pursuit took us all over Southern California. We went to the westbound 105, 605 north, 710 northbound, 60 freeway, 605 north, 10 east now. And we're hoping that this person is perhaps returning to where the crime happened so that they can be arrested and caught by police.
Yeah, don't forget the eastbound 105. It seems this whole pursuit has been on the highway.
Sure.
And I think that that's for the reason of the driver to keep officers from attempting that pit. I mean, you can't say for sure, but we think that those pit maneuvers occurred obviously on the residential streets. Most of these police officers have the policy they must follow to have that pit maneuver at slower speeds. That is not allowed then on highway situations. And so we really do truly echo what Des said earlier. We hope that this suspect is going back home. We know he's wanted for domestic violence in West Covina. This all started there, and West Covina initially took that call for that domestic violence in West Covina, and they've been pursuing the suspect ever since, going on almost, well, probably more than an hour. It's been on our air for probably close to 50 minutes now, and they've been doing that for longer. So we certainly do echo the comments of Des and hope that this goes back to the neighborhood, goes back to that place, because we've seen that so many times before. We just hope that driver will pull over, put it in park, drop the keys, get out, and give up.
That's right, but who knows? You know, we don't know the circumstances of what happened in West Covina, which started this entire thing. We don't know the circumstances of the domestic violence incident that apparently happened today, according to the West Covina Police Department. There is, as far as we know, one person in this car, and we were talking about, you know, stopping mechanisms, and the CHP earlier was asked by the West Covina Police Department to possibly help with spike strips. I don't know if that was actually on the freeway or maybe on a surface street if they exited or not, but we do know that they said no because of the fact that they want the entire pursuit if they're going to take over.
We're going to lose Des here for just a few minutes before we head over to CBS 2 at 11 o'clock with Pat Harvey, as she'll take up the call here at the top of the hour. So we're just going to go ahead and update you here until we get to that point. This is the pursuit, LA's latest pursuit. West Covina police in pursuit this entire time of a suspect wanted for domestic violence out of West Covina. They started in that area, then got on the westbound of 105. Eastbound 105, and that's when the chopper then for the LA County Sheriff's Department got overhead. We saw the northbound 605 as well. Then they exited there at Telegraph. That was the attempted pit maneuver, which we had here live on KCAL 9. Then back onto the 605, 5 West Covina police cruisers in tow here. Then it was on the westbound 105, the northbound 710. And I'm almost losing my breath, Susie. The eastbound 6,
No
the northbound
kidding.
605, and now the eastbound 10. Trying to get back, it looks like, to the West Covina area.
They must have had a lot of gas in that tank. You know,
Sure seems like it.
You know, they haven't run out of gas yet, so we know it was actually more than 100 miles they've traveled so far. And they have yet to run out of gas, and it looks like they're going full steam ahead, not slowing down, as we have been watching this pursuit, as Jeff was just talking about, for the good part of almost an hour now. And the West Covina Police Department has not given up on this pursuit. They have not relinquished it to the CHP. They really want this person for the domestic violence incident that happened in their city earlier today. Again, we don't know the circumstances of that actual situation. We don't know what happened, but we do know it was something heinous. They want this guy right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You don't see that very often where the agency gets onto a highway and does not hand it over to the CHP. West Covina said they want to take this all the way from beginning to end. It looks like they're going to do that, and you got to give them credit. They've done a good job. They had that attempted pit maneuver that didn't quite work out, but they have been on the job the whole time. 5 cruisers following. We should mention that this is a domestic violence situation. We do not know the extent of injuries. As we're getting off there, it looks like it's Citrus Avenue. We do not know the extent of injuries to the victim. As we're going to slow down here, this is definitely getting off of the road, off of the highway, Susie, and that driver is slowing down quite a bit. This could be another opportunity for a pit maneuver, but if they're communicating with him and he wants to go home, it's another one. And over the median.
Wow.
Over the median, lost control. He's
Breaking news. news right now on CBS 2 News at 11 p.m.
Now at 11 and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles, breaking news. West Covina police are now on a standoff with a domestic violence suspect. They've been chasing this suspect for over an hour. There have been some pit maneuver attempts, and boy, Desmond Shaw is live in Sky 2 with this pursuit. And Desmond, right as we started, there we go, on the right side of your screen, that was a pretty dramatic pit, the most dramatic one ever.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. I actually heard you say, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And indeed, it did. They pitted the suspect. It went over the center divider and into that pole. Lucky for the suspect, it was at pretty low speeds, and his airbags didn't deploy. But you see the damage to the front of this small SUV. We'll see if we can zoom in any more on this one right here. So damage to the front and rear bumpers, and then it looked like the suspect was going to continue, and then let's hope that they thought better of it here. They suddenly came to a halt, and West Covina, you see, usually they stay behind the vehicle. They came and got right on the side of the vehicle. This is very unusual that you see this. Yeah, so they have guns drawn from two different angles here. We are on Citrus Avenue, and nope, the suspect has decided they're going to continue northbound on Citrus away from the 10 freeway. We were hoping this was going to be at a conclusion, but the suspect has decided to keep going.
You know, at one point we saw them roll the window down, Desmond. Did you notice that? And had some kind of conversation with police officers. But we should tell our viewers again, this has been going on now for over an hour. They tried two pit maneuvers earlier, but this last one that we saw, or this most recent one, Des, that really had him going, as you say, across the median and slamming into a pole, looks like they're going to try another one, Desmond. They are not playing around now. They've had enough, seems like. Yeah,
no, and you saw how many other units there were blocking off intersections as well. Now that we are back near West Covina's jurisdiction, they will be able to get more cruisers on this if they want. If they want to get more vehicles on this, that they'll have that opportunity to get them from the scene as the vehicle gets ready to go right underneath Sky 2 right now. You see the spotlight there, LA County Sheriff's deputies. The window that was down there, yeah, Pat, you have to wonder what he had to say to the police there. Probably some very choice words for West Covina PD. I'm sure he's not happy that, you know, we know of at least two pit maneuver attempts, possibly more, because there was damage that we spotted on the rear bumper. There it is right there. You can actually see it very well.
Yes.
That was before any of the pit maneuvers that we saw, which makes me think that there may have been another one. And you wonder if any damage was done, if any tires. Look at that. You know what? Look, there's a flat tire right there, probably from going over the center divider. We haven't heard about any spike strips, so I'm wondering if that was from when that vehicle was pitted over the center divider. So now down one tire. Really desperate of this suspect to continue now, as the vehicle is not even at full capability.
No, it's not. And boy, that was a violent pit, as you were talking about there, Desmond. And we should mention that they ran the plates. The plates came back to an address in Compton. Boy, they're getting very aggressive again with this driver. Domestic violence. We have some reason to believe. Oh, wow, did you see that? Going a little fast. Saw some sparks coming.
Right through that intersection. Yep. He's going to be sitting a little lower to the ground now with only three good. Look at that! Look at that! The rubber is completely separated, and now we've got sparks coming from the wheels right now as we're on the surface street, and the speed's actually increasing up to 55 miles an hour now with bad tires. You have to imagine the writing is on the wall for this suspect.
Right.
This is not one of those pursuits where this suspect is going to be getting away, and yet they continue and really endangering themselves and a lot of other people. Let's see if they're going to do another pit maneuver here. West Covina being super aggressive in wanting to end this one, Pat. Oh,
well,
look at all those sparks.
Yeah, a lot of sparks coming there, Desmond. You know, you had talked earlier about how this driver stayed on made a number of freeways. He has traversed a lot of territory, but is really back where this began, if I'm correct, in the East San Gabriel Valley, started in West Covina. And officers really stayed on this vehicle. In fact, we noticed that the CHP did not get involved. And according to your earlier reporting, Desmond, West Covina asked them to assist with, I believe, a spike strip. And CHP said,
that's
well,
correct.
No, if we're not, you know, in all the way, then we're not going to participate. So now it appears West Covina has really stepped up its game in terms of trying to bring this to an end. Here we go again, Desmond.
Yeah, right up on the bumper there, like they're wanting to do it. And I mean, kind of surprised. I'm not sure how this vehicle will react if they pit it with this bad tire. You know, hopefully this vehicle doesn't go and spin up, you know, onto the sidewalk, smash into another vehicle or something. But it just shows you how badly West Covina wants to bring this one to an end. And this was a fairly, you know, I don't want to say routine, but on the more docile side for most of the pursuit as far as how this was going. Most, you know, of the pursuit, really heavy sparks coming out now. They're going to lose the wheel here shortly. Right up on the bumper, right up against it, trying to spin him around the trees, kind of fishtailing. He's going to go right to that vehicle.
He's gonna hit
now
a
they're
car.
going to be pinned in. This is going to be it. Wow, look at West Covina. It's just amazing the aggressive tactics that they're using to end this. And now the suspect is pinned in. They were out immediately with weapons drawn. And let's see how the suspect reacts now.
This has been pretty incredible to watch here, Desmond. You have to think a domestic violence suspect, probably the victim of the domestic violence, has been talking with police, giving them a lot of information in terms of maybe this driver's state of mind, what happened. We know there's only one person in the car. You know, we don't like necessarily to talk about someone being armed when we don't know this for sure, but the way they've been acting, as far as West Covina, Desmond, they seem to have, I would think, some more information, certainly a lot more than we do, because they're out of their vehicles and seem poised and ready to take this person into custody. Don't know how long they're going to sit there.
You know, I was saying earlier, you know, look at already bringing the canine up as well. They've got the canine right up there as well. I was saying from the beginning here that West Covina, in my experience, has been one of the more aggressive agencies, and after this, might even say the most aggressive police agency when it comes to pursuits, the way that we've seen them covered in the past and now tonight. And you see the smoking coming from the vehicle there, either from the tire or possibly the radiator may have been damaged when it smashed into the back of that Infiniti. You certainly hope that that person has some good insurance, not too serious a damage, but the suspect has not come out yet. And but they are out here, weapons drawn. They have lethal force ready. They have the canines ready as well. Not sure if they have less than lethal. We haven't seen any of the green straps or handles on the guns, which would indicate less than lethal. Here you see the officers running away, maybe to get in a more tactical position. We'll see if we can reposition to the other side to get a better angle on this one. And we are on a little street called Broadmoor Avenue near Workman Avenue.
Yeah, you can imagine. Wow, look at that officer with his long gun. His weapon is aimed right at that vehicle. You can imagine this probably pretty quiet neighborhood, Desmond. There's a lot of activity, a lot of sirens, a lot of noise going on right now. And they've got a very, we'll call him a dangerous person simply because of the fact of how he was driving in these last several miles, trying to get away from West Covina police, and just having the gall to roll the window down and, you know, possibly have a very terse conversation with them, as if to not give up, and actually try to still get away. Look at the sparks still flying.
Yeah,
Are they
you see
trying
those
to rev
sparks?
the wheels?
So he's got his foot on the gas pedal.
Wow.
So he's got his foot on the gas pedal, so that you got sparks flying from where the rubber's been separated. That's just metal on asphalt there, and then you see the other tire is spinning, and that's all of that rubber that is coming up. And as we were working our way around to try to get a better angle for you here, you saw the West Covina police officer who's now hiding back behind that. So they have a bunch of different angles on this suspect, but still refusing to come out. Just absurd that the suspect would even do this. Just starting to make you wonder if they're having a mental breakdown or something.
Possibly. You know, I look at those sparks flying and think about how, you know, that's certainly dangerous, and how dry with our drought. We're looking at lawns here with the neighbors, this residential neighborhood. Look at that smoke, Desmond. That's got to be, I would think, even more dangerous for the driver in that car, not even wanting to exit, considering.
Yeah, getting inundated with smoke there. If it's from the rubber or if it's from the radiator, you know, is the vehicle going to catch fire at this rate? So the way that this pursuit has gone, Pat, from where the suspect was you know, basically just kind of tootling along on freeways at highway speed, and how quickly this changed. And now the desperation, it makes me think that their state of mind has changed rapidly as well. Look at all of the smoke coming out of this vehicle from all four wheels here. This is, you know, horrible for the suspect and for police that are having to breathe in all of these fumes. But you can see how stalwart they're standing behind their vehicles, even though they're taking in all of this smoke right now.
Yeah,
but
look
now
at that
that
officer.
we are on this side, you could get, yeah, right. And you know, they're not
very close.
They don't care at all. And just let's widen out really quick and show you how many officers there are. There's a bunch back there that have blocked off the street,
this whole street
as well. I'm not sure if this is a one-way street. This might just be a one-way in and out street. I don't want to widen out too much to lose the shot to learn that, but you can see here on Broadmoor Avenue, and yeah, a quiet street, Pat. You can imagine here you're probably getting ready for bed, and then you hear lights and sirens, and then the smash of bumper on bumper,
and now
then,
smelling this smoke.
You know, the police blaring on the loud horns, and then this as well. It's got to be, I mean, incredibly frightening for people living on the street, and I'm wondering, you know, that officer Wes Covina may be going around to some of the homes, alerting them to what's going on and to shelter in place. And a minor correction, thanks to one of my car friends who told me this is not an Infiniti that was smashed into. It's actually a Kia Optima, but you can see all of the smoke that continues to come out.
Yeah, and if I was the owner of that Kia Optima, I'd be a little concerned as well, Desmond, not just from being hit, but again by all of that smoke and the sparks that were coming from that Scion that the driver is still in. You know, wondering, Desmond, would they possibly, because of this, you said you didn't notice any non-lethal, if they would try to do something, a projectile or something into that the window?
They could definitely
to get his attention even more.
If they have beanbag guns, you know, they could definitely do that to smash out the windows, and then they could fire pepper balls in there or some irritant gas as well. As we come around here, I mean, all the smoke is going into the cabin, and our assignment desk telling me it's hard to see next to that basketball hoop, but the suspect threw something out of the window. Some sort of object. It's unclear what it is right there, but you might see it glowing kind of next to the basketball hoop right there. But the suspect may have their head out the window just to try to get some fresh air because of all the smoke. I mean, it's so bad that you know, it could be enough to flush the suspect out, or you know, make them pass out or something. So we'll try to come back around to the other side here. We're just dealing with LA County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter, but the suspect actually has their head out the window on the passenger side of the vehicle there, where you see the flashing turn signal.
All right, so at least they were in a position to crawl over to that side of the vehicle in the front seat, and I'm sure possibly maybe talking with police officers, but certainly has nowhere else to go. But right now the call is for him to get out of that vehicle, even for his own sake.
Yeah, absolutely, and for the sake of everyone in this neighborhood. And he's not doing that. They're not doing themselves any favors with this, you know, that's for sure. I mean, you just wonder, why did you not just surrender after that last pit maneuver when you slammed into the pole? You can tell that Wes Covina is not going to let you go. We've got you covered from the air and from the ground. You are going to be in handcuffs one way or another. And now you're just, you know, potentially irritating your lungs with all of this smoke coming out, and frankly, you know, opening themselves up to the canine. If West Covina PD wants to send the canine in, then that's another thing.
Yeah, especially, I don't want to be crass here, but Des, if the guy's got his head hanging out the window, I don't know if you necessarily want to be greeted by a canine. You know, that certainly would not be very pleasant for this person. But when you think of all the trouble that West Covina police have gone to just to get this to come to an end, and here they are at the end of a pursuit that lasted over an hour, and now it has ended so violently with this vehicle crashing into another car and smoke coming from the vehicle. Officers, you know, that's a lot of time and effort that they're putting now. Oh, I thought I saw, was that a cone or something? I thought an officer
it might have been
something.
a less than lethal. I saw I saw some orange coming off of that gun, which makes me think that it was one of a variety of less than lethal projectiles that that officer might be getting ready to use. We're just dealing with some trees here right now, some very ill-placed trees. We wanted to get over to the passenger side because we understand that they might be hanging out the window on that side. But, so just bear with us here as we reposition. But West Covina, we'll see when they're going to go in for a move. As far as, you know, they've been so aggressive to this point, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't just gone in and smashed the window and yanked the suspect out.
Right. And you know something, too, you mentioned that this is where it started. We don't know. This could be an address that this person is familiar with. We don't know that yet. I'm just thinking because he ended up all the way back in West Covina, and all the time it took for him to try to get away. And let's face it, you were talking about how diligent the officers were on the freeway, and this driver knew that he couldn't really, they wouldn't pit him on the freeway, so he was back and forth on several freeways for over an hour before this ended, and then came up on surface streets closer to where this began. I wonder if this is somewhere near, or this address could be someone that he knows, or near someone that he knows.
Yeah,
you know.
But you can see the suspect now back inside with the windows up. We understand that they were kind of hanging out the window, probably coughing from all that smoke, and I'm sure they were, you know, saying something to West Covina PD. But now we see, you know, another officer out here right now with guns drawn
and lights
lethal
on him.
or less lethal, not clear. Yeah, lights as well. Not sure where the canine went. We had canine might be standing by back here, but we have not seen that deploy. Have to wonder if beanbags through the windows are going to be the next step here to try to convince the suspect to come out.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to do that earlier, Desmond. You know, from our angle here, I can't really tell. I can't really see the person in the car if they're moving around. We noticed when he was driving, though, earlier, Desmond, I don't remember you talking about him making any erratic moves, didn't really drive. High speeds at times, but then not too erratically, and you never talked about him moving around as we sometimes see these drivers get so irritable. And I can't see if there's any movement in the vehicle right now, but the police are very much, you know, with these sirens going and they were shining lights on the vehicle, at some point you would think they could possibly use the bean bags and try to get this this driver to come out on his own. But I don't know. It doesn't look like that's how this is going to go, Desmond.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see if you know, they want to call in a sheriff's deputy SWAT team or anything, but you know, probably not, because we know that West Covina was not interested in handing this off to any other agency. I'm not sure if West Covina has their own armored Bearcats or not, but out here with the weapons drawn, and I'm just kind of surprised that they haven't moved in at this point. Maybe they're talking to the suspect on the phone right now. Oh, there we go. Right there. They might have just shot some pepper balls into the driver's side right there. We'll see if we can come around now and get a better view of the driver's side on this one. But they may have just fired something through one of the windows there.
Yeah, that was a huge move there, Desmond. But boy, yeah, almost wonder if this guy has a gas mask or something inside that vehicle, because he certainly has not tried to exit as far as we can see. We saw him stick his head out of the window at one point, but you know, with all that,
it's kind of amazing sometimes what these suspects are capable of. we've seen before where, you know, irritant gases is thrown into the vehicle, and then they're able to withstand that for a minute or two at a time before they finally come out. But then the thing is they're in handcuffs one way or the other, just with the extremely irritated lungs. So it just makes you wonder, you know, what is going through these suspects' heads.
Yeah, I see another cruiser with the lights off, so right in front. And boy, just a barrage of vehicles behind this car. And again, we just saw, yeah, you can see the window there where officers fired some kind of, oh, I'm looking at that white car. Sorry, Des, that's the car that that driver smashed into, which really stopped his movement. You know, when you think about it, officers were on him when they pitted him again, and he crashed into that car there. But this guy has been sitting in the car for about the last 15 minutes or so, and has refused to come out. And as Desmond mentioned, they had the K-9 unit down there at one point. Oh, is that firing from the other side?
I think so. So right as we moved around to the driver's side, I think they just fired it to the passenger side. But we're just going to stay right here, kind of have both sides covered, and see where the suspect decides to come out. But yeah, 2 crashes for the suspect when things were going so docile for almost the entire length of the pursuit. No crazy cutting people off or triple-digit speeds or wrong side of the road or anything like that. And then, you know, all of a sudden we had pit maneuvers and a crash into a light pole, and then continuing, and a wheel flying off, and then another pit maneuver and smashing into this. So you just never know how these are going to go. I mean, it was really kind of looking like maybe the suspect just wanted to come back and surrender, but West Covina, trying to bring it to an immediate end, may have agitated this suspect, and now we're in this standoff situation. There is an officer who is over here, maybe just behind this tree, that has less than lethal munitions right now. It was the one who fired that. So basically probably just a couple of warning shots. If the suspect had any doubt in their mind that West Covina means business, then they definitely know now that they do. And it's, how long do you want to drag this out? You know, you have to hear the canine that is nearby barking, that is ready to go in there if need be. But just refusing, sitting here, inhaling noxious fumes from earlier, from the tires and all of that smoke that we saw coming out. But just incredible resistance here by this obstinate suspect.
There's no question about that, and hopefully when this comes to an end, if it's on his own volition, that he'll come out with his hands up and surrender in that fashion, because, you know, to withstand all of this and to be that obstinate, as you say, we know the officers are highly trained, they know what they're doing, but I can imagine just how the adrenaline is running on their part too, because it's taken so long, and this driver has withstood just so much in terms of the non-lethal weapons that they fired into this vehicle, and he's still there, and he's the smoke.
That's good.
After overcoming all of that as well, that's just been incredible.
Yep, it's a crazy thing to see. One of the more stubborn pursuits, or stubborn suspects, I should say, for sure. You know, a lot of times these suspects, they want to drag this out. They know what's going to happen next, and they want to delay that as long as possible. There's really no question about how this is going to end. It's just how much are you going to tolerate as far as getting, you know, beanbags or pepper balls shot at you, or potentially getting bit by the canine. How long are you willing to risk this for a little bit of extra time to, I don't know, you know, process your thoughts about, you know, going to jail tonight, you know, whatever. Maybe they're calling their lawyer. Maybe they're on the phone with police negotiating something right now. I mean, almost everyone has a cell phone right now, so very possible that the suspect is on the phone talking with someone here. But pretty scary situation for everybody here on Broadmoor Avenue in West Covina. If this street is connected to the suspect specifically, unsure, but it certainly seemed like the suspect's plan was to end this one way or another, very close to or where this all began.
All right, and as we sit and really wait for this person to get out of this car, to exit the vehicle, you know, you see all kinds of scenarios that we have witnessed over the years, Desmond, and how sometimes these things end tragically. And hopefully that's not the case here, and that this person will exit, or if they have to pull him out, that he will exit the vehicle and get handcuffs on him, as opposed to something that would certainly be more sinister. And don't want to think that way, but we've seen these things happen, and sometimes you just don't know what could be going on in the mind of someone who is really withstanding this kind of, and let's just say, force. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, there's been some violent pit maneuvers there, and at the same time, this car has been smoking. A lot of smoke coming from that vehicle on the driver's part, actually, you know, gassing it up, revving the engine, so that he presents a lot of smoke, maybe thinking that that was going to do something, that the officers were going to retreat, but they have not. They have not moved. They have moved in on this suspect, and he has been in this position, holed in, for, I would say, at least 20 minutes now. And no movement, except when Desmond mentioned about 10 minutes ago that the driver had his head out of the car, possibly to try to clear his airways from all of that smoke that was coming from the inside. But that was really the last time, and they have fired a couple of rounds of non-lethal weapons in this vehicle, but still no movement. And Desmond, you know, with the angle here, we're looking at the back of this vehicle, but I don't know if you can tell from the front anyway, because of how he's boxed in there, if there is any movement inside the car at all.
Yeah, we haven't been able to see any movement at all. You might be able to see a little bit of the residue from what was probably a pepper ball right there near the rail there along the passenger side roofline of this SUV. That oh, and I understand now. Let me just widen out for a second, because they may actually be getting ready to bring in a Bearcat on this one. That is one of the large armored vehicles. We'll see if it looks like, okay, so that there's a Bearcat that is down here. That's one of the large armored vehicles, and now let's see what they're going to do, if they're going to bring one of those vehicles in, and then perhaps they'll bring this to a conclusion, and that may answer the question I asked earlier, if West Covina has their own armored vehicles, or if this is sheriff's deputies who were coming in. But once they have the Bearcat there, then they have other things that they can do. They can actually attach kind of a pole to the front of it and smash out one of the windows if they want, and they can even use that pole to drop in some irritant gas, which would almost certainly flush this suspect out. But here comes the Bearcat right now. We're going to try to see if we can go forward a little bit here. You see the Bearcat creeping up right here, and I mean, how intimidating this must be for the suspect.
Oh,
this,
that's right there. Is
huge
that on the
armored vehicle
on the grass?
Right up on the grass. Yeah, and you know, I'm sure that the resident isn't terribly happy about that. But you know, this is they got to do what they got to do on this one, and so they're repositioning this Bearcat, and let's see what they're going to do with it here. Kind of hesitant to reposition too much and lose this behind the trees when they might be getting to move in with something, but they may be coming in with some shields. Maybe they wanted to wait for shields before they wanted to move in. The way they've been acting throughout this pursuit is that they do not think that the suspect is armed, doing all the pit maneuvers and just getting right up against it. But regardless, it looks like they have summoned this big armored vehicle right here, and they are going to come in now, and it looks like they're going to basically block the suspect in from three sides. And indeed, this does look like West Covina's own armored Bearcat vehicle here, bulletproof vehicle, this massive, intimidating vehicle that we've seen many times with LAPD and sheriff's deputies. And so now this is one more complication for this resistant suspect. Yeah, no question. And, you know, just going to say this in terms of budgeting, they have this large Bearcat vehicle that I would, you know, not be surprised if it doesn't get much use. And, you know, I just can't help but look at this picture, Desmond, as you see this Bearcat vehicle, all of these police cruisers
that white car and that basketball hoop that is right in front of that white car. You know, that's almost, I mean, just the picture here, I just had to mention that. That's almost movie-esque, if you will, and we are in L.A. Well, there is the, he's exiting the Bearcat vehicle.
A wild car chase overnight that included pit maneuvers and a domestic violence suspect driving on tire rooms. It has ended after an hours-long standoff in West Covina. The suspect led police on a chase over 3 freeways, hitting speeds of more than 100 miles per hour before being boxed and fired on with pepper spray by officers. The suspect just surrendered to police several hours ago.